a meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and just a reminder that Norton Media is recording tonight. If anybody else is, we just need to know. We're going to go right to vote to approve the minutes of September 28th, the open session meeting. We'll start with that one. Did everybody have a chance to look it over? Any questions, comments, changes?
Nope.
All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes from September 28th open session meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I wasn't here.
Perfect, thank you.
And then the September 28th joint meeting with the Finance Committee. Any questions, comments, changes?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve the September 28th joint meeting with the Finance Committee minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I wasn't here.
Thank you.
All right. Warrants? Dan's gonna cover that.
September 14th, expense warrant, $679,071.47. School payroll warrant for September 7th, $1,244,653.84. Wish to enter these into the record.
Are we looking at the
No,
right one?
go ahead.
we're up.
Oh, like, wait a minute.
Yeah, caught y'all.
See, we're paying attention. Try again,
That
Dan.
was a test.
Try again.
School expense warrant, September 28th, $963,828.56. School payroll warrant, September 21st, $1,373,795.46. Wish to enter these into the public record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will do the student rep update with Gabriella.
All right, just before I get started, Antonio isn't here today. He's not feeling well, so yeah. So for the high school, October 24th is Career Day, where we will have approximately 25 professionals from a wide variety of fields come in to present the 10th grade class to emphasize career exploration. And on October 23rd through the 27th is going to be Spirit Week, organized by the Student Council. The early release day on October 27th will be an SEL day for students to take a break from classes and participate in activities with peers and teachers. This will be followed by the revival of the homecoming dance on October 28th. And for the Yell, our students have been doing sensationally as we return to getting back to academic work. With that being said, our students receive PBIS hashtags for being #respectful, #responsible, and #safe, or anything else positive that they might be doing to receive a paid per hashtag. When students collect 50 hashtags, they can turn them in for a coin for our HAY PTO book vending machine. And so far, in these short few weeks of the school year, we have had over 60 students receive a book for their positive behaviors. And on a similar note, we have already given out 73 #good news calls of the day to date, where students are nominated by any adult in the building for doing something positive. And Mr. Balawa or Mr. Gagan call the student down, give the families a phone call, and post a picture on Twitter or in the newsletter, and give them a coin for the HAY PTO book vending machine. We are well ahead of our pace for at least 2 calls per day, 360 in total. These kids have been doing incredibly well, and we are so proud of them. And with all these books being given out, over 120, our HAY PTO Scholastic Book Fair is next week with our parent-teacher conferences. We hope to restock the vending machine with more amazing choices for these wonderful kids who are doing such awesome things. Again, parent-teacher conferences are next week, so our teachers get to meet with families and talk about the progress of our students that they are making. We hope to see everybody next week. And for the JCS, October brings so many fun and exciting events. The SPO recently hosted Flamingo Flocking, where students were able to flock someone in town. The SPO is also hosting a movie night this Saturday, where students and families can enjoy the Addams Family. There will be concessions and raffle baskets. Students also have been working hard to earn Turtle tokens for showing safe, respectful, and responsible behavior. Some grade levels have already earned fun rewards for collecting the most tokens. And that is all we have for today.
I love turtle tokens. I didn't even know that. That's cute, yeah.
The JCSC Turtles.
That's cute. Thank you. Anybody have any questions or? What year are you in school?
Senior.
Oh, senior, okay. All right, well, thank you. All right, opening school remarks. Principal Hayward.
eating supper.
I'd introduce-
We're so close. All right, let's see if we have it here. If not, we
You know,
can connect.
when you're in front of people, it's like dismantling a bomb. Red wire, so it's tougher in front of people. Anyways, good evening. We had a great opening of school. This is our school report. And so we welcomed 571 students, 81 teachers and staff, and we have one mission, which is learning today, leading tomorrow, which is our Lancers Lead. And every student matters and every moment counts. And we welcome new staff. One of the most important things we do at the school is hire new staff to work with our kids. So I'll introduce you to some of them. I had them put some quotes in about the start of school, and I'll read from here a little bit. But Molly Sullivan, our guidance administrative assistant, Molly's a graduate of UMass Boston. Mr. Goldstein actually led that hiring committee. She has a bachelor's in psychology and sociology, and she's looking to become a school counselor in the future. So she's excited about the opportunity to learn from everyone down in guidance, and she's looking forward to a great school year. She's been doing a fantastic job. Colleen McAuliffe is a graduate of UMass Amherst. She holds a bachelor's in music and music education. She was part of the Great Foxborough music programs, so we're hoping she can bring some of that to our middle school program. The year has been off to a great start, according to Colleen, and she's felt very welcomed by the staff. And so far, it's been wonderful. Well, that's good. Next up is Mr. Tim LeConte. Tim has been, I'm going to advance this now to that. Tim has been around for a while, but this year he found himself in a teacher's role, and we were able to get a special ed certification for him. He's coached many teams here. He's worked during COVID in our distance learning academy. And his mother was a teacher at the LG North for 28 years. His father, a firefighter in town and a pretty good golfer. And so he said he's thrilled to be working in the same town. We have so many people that grew up in Norton who end up teaching in our schools. So he's thrilled to be working in the same town and in the schools that helped shape him into who he is today, along with his parents, teachers and coaches. And so Tim's a great addition to the teaching staff. He's been with us for a while. Next up is Eddie Abdo. Eddie has been fantastic. We had, science is very tough to hire in. And again, trying to bring in, quality teachers is probably, top 3 roles that a principal has, is bringing in good staff and keeping them. We got Eddie from Fall River. He's taught there for 19 years, so getting someone with that level of experience, was excellent in science. He had an interesting career prior to this. He ran the Frosty Beverage Bottling Company out of Fall River, so I don't know if people know. Seemed to be famous when I did a Google search to make sure he was on the up and up. So that was one of the things that came up. But one of the things that stood out in his interview was how he talked about his connection to kids, and when I was calling him was set up, he was working the summer program, taking kids from Fall River into Boston on a bus, and I knew I liked the guy right there because he was, still had enough in the tank in July to still be working with kids after 19 years. But it was hard to leave, but he's been learning well. He's looking forward to making those connections here in Norton. Marissa Massaro is a graduate of Franklin Pierce. She worked up in New Hampshire in special education. She's been getting along. She works in our BEST program, which is multi-graded, so she has many interactions with a lot of staff across grade levels. There's 3 different grade levels, and everyone's been very welcoming to her. She's also like a minor league hockey player. She was playing in Italy at one point, trying to get back, so talented. We'll see if the hockey team needs some help. And next up is Alexis Child. She's a paraprofessional, recent graduate of Norton High School. She did an internship with Kent Taylor and Todd Kiefer, 2 of our great teachers up at Norton High School. She's currently going to Western Governors University online. She's looking to get her Bachelor of Arts in Special Ed. And again, another person who had great experiences in our schools, and she's excited to be actually a co-worker with the teachers she's loved So that's our new staff this year, so. And so far, they've been doing a great job, right, Mr. Schools?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great job. Okay, so our goal, typically, we have our goal is to improve student achievement. That's a huge part of it. We talked a lot about tests and data and so on. But our larger goal is to achieve student improvement, the total kid, the overall person. So, a slight twist on words, one should go with the other. But, that's how I focus the staff, that we do want results. We do want measurable gains. That's important. But as important or more important is the day-to-day growth of our kids overall. Some of the things that we do, our initiatives right now with the staff that we've been focused on since the start of school, since the start of school report, is that the PD we got right away on PBIS and IMTSS, our two major initiatives, and these are some of the software platforms we use along with that. So that's some of the training we've been doing. Again, probably a theme you've seen throughout the district, but that's where the focus of our staff has been through our early release days that we've had, our kickoff day, and then our ongoing conversations at the school level and the day-to-day level as they have their team meetings. So exceptional staff working hard. We try to make sure that at the middle school, we're not just connected to the school, but everyone feels a sense of belonging, and we all kind of fit. Here are our puzzle pieces that we've done in the past. So we all kind of have a place and a fit. And we try to extend that to the kids. Our PBIS program, these are images of our kind of posters that we teach the expectations through. Oh, I just went back. Karen showed me. And so we just like that, we got the Hay report, give out information, give out tickets based on their meeting expectations in the classroom, in the hallways, in the cafeteria. And the kids love it. They get a charge out of it. We're able to do this twice a week at each grade level. We give out prizes. We have these big golden bins where they put their tickets at lunch. The other day, Superintendent O'Neill had her residency at the school, and she actually spun the thing, gave out some tickets. The kids were excited. They were cheering, weren't they?
Yes, they absolutely were.
They were very excited. And I just want to give a plug to the Norton Middle School Parent Board. They also help fund us with all these prizes and different things to help, help keep the kids excited. And again, a common thing that we talk about amongst the staff, excellence is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. And that's what I preach to the staff, is just doing the ordinary, but doing it really well and consistently. And that's kind of what PBIS is for our kids. So how do we connect to kids? And again, part of our school improvement goal, one of the main goals, developing and recognizing the whole child. One of our things was to grow a range of clubs. So some of the numbers that we have to go along with that, we offer 16 different clubs at Norton Middle School. Right now, 14 are up and running, leaving out our biggest one, which is drama, which can, in years past, has had upwards of 100 kids involved.
Correct.
And we have 206 people involved in a combination of these clubs up here. Our sports programs, we have 5 middle school teams right now, and we have 3 Norton High School JV teams that our kids play on, 138 students playing those. Here are just some of the pictures of our clubs and different things, just a spattering of them. And our sports teams, sports this year, exciting. We started volleyball for the first time ever. We had 55 kids try out for the volleyball team. That was after cross country and soccer had already had their teams. So that was a huge amount, definitely blew us away, but there's definitely a lot of kids interested, and probably a signal we need to offer or could offer more and actually sustain more teams or other opportunities. We had our first unified bocce match. If you drove in to the front of the school today, you can still see the bocce courts out there, so that was a great experience. Cross country is undefeated, right? They're still undefeated. And the boys and girls soccer teams both have wins under their belt.
The volleyball, is that
Yeah.
co-ed? Or is
Our team isn't co-ed,
okay,
but it could be. It's open to,
okay. I wasn't sure how
Yeah.
that works in middle school.
yeah, we follow the same rules as the high school as far as boys playing on the team. They're gonna be, in the back row, can't hit the ball above the net. team we played the other day was mixed.
Okay.
But we just didn't happen to have any. They were probably afraid of the 55 girls trying out.
That's a lot.
That's probably-
You know, I have to remind you that we do have hockey too.
Yes, we do have hockey, but
Your
see,
nephew's played.
It's not.
I know, my nephew played, he was the captain of Norton High School hockey, but
Yeah, I know.
I always think hockey season, it has to be cold.
Nope.
It has to be
It can be
cold.
very warm.
It's running now, that's right,
Yes.
it's running now. Actually, there's Mikey, because I had to use an old picture. of
Oh,
Mikey.
that's awesome.
So he was, yeah, long time, sorry. You know I love hockey.
I know you do. I know. You've been to games. I know.
Okay, so, and then one of the things we did early in the year, this year, we had Jesse Green come out. He's a motivational speaker from American Chainsaw. He does the wood carvings and everything, like with the chainsaw and stuff. Pretty famous, and we had just an exceptional, I'll say, a moment. We had Keegan, he got up on stage. The guy talks a lot about, setting goals, step by step, getting excited for their future. Again, what we preach to hand off, when we hand off caring about your future and your education to kids, which is the progression that we get to when they become seniors. They care about it more than we do. And Keegan got so jazzed up, people were asking questions like, his thing is cheeseburgers and rock and roll and all this stuff. So kids are like, hey, what's your favorite cheeseburger? Asking all these questions. And Keegan raised his hand and said, can I get up and sing? So he had the major carpe diem moment. And then I'll play this. This is. He's sang another one, Bites the Dust. All right, Keegan, nice job.
That was the most productive thing that's ever happened at one of my shows by far. Thank you so much for doing that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Great job, Keegan.
Give it up for him one more time, everybody. Thank you.
So that was just an amazing thing to have that moment. So that was just a really cool thing. Again, kids talking about the future, him getting up and seeing how his classmates responded to him was just awesome to see. So that's kind of been the start of school. We're looking forward to our first dance of the year. Halloween dance will be October 27th. And then our parent-teacher conferences in November. That's it. Any questions?
You guys always done a Halloween dance?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
Always, yes. Yes.
I see that. I feel like I've been so out of it. I have no idea.
It's so much more than a dance, though.
It's an
like-
experience.
There's usually inflatables and karaoke.
Yeah, you know what? I think I
and-
worked at one year, the concession stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's all
What's the,
coming back to me.
What's the third high school team?
They do JV, there's two kids on football,
Oh,
on
okay.
JV, on the freshman football team, I
Gotcha.
believe. Yeah, and then the soccer teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks, man.
All right. Vote to approve DECA trips for 23-24 school year. Bobby, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
You actually walked past the table?
So hello, thank you for having us. We are here to seek our annual approval for like the 20th plus year in a row for our DECA trips, our overnight trips specifically. In your packets you have 5 of those trips outlined there, as well as photo highlights from our trips last year. I'm joined here by Helen Russell, who is our president of DECA, as well as our class president of the senior class, and like 3,000 other things. But we are super proud of our DECA program. Just some quick highlights from last year is we had around 75 members. We range between 75 to 100 members each year, which means about 1 out of every 7 students in Norton High School is a member of our DECA program. It's a program that really kind of brings to life our portrait of graduate standards and goals, because it gives students that hands-on experience where they're bringing business pitches to real business professionals and getting to network and meet with students from around the country as well as business professionals from around the country. So it's a program that we're super proud of, hoping to continue it with your approval tonight. And I'll turn it over to Helen to share a little bit more about her DECA experience and what DECA has done for her as a student leader.
Hi, my name's Helen. I'm kind of Mr. Portway introduced me lovely. I'm the class president, I'm a senior, and this is my 3rd year doing DECA. And DECA has just been such an important thing to me because it really helped me navigate what I wanted to do with my future. For the longest time, I was like, oh, I don't know. And I kind of didn't like when people asked me, oh, what are you going to do in college? And it gave me such a great way to immerse myself into business and learning about marketing and finance and hospitality. And it's so important at our school because it's such a big program. And one of our goals this year is to try and increase membership and strengthen our chapter. And I really do care about this club so much because it's a way to help my fellow classmates and underclassmen and everyone really at our school get a great idea of what they want to do with their future.
Awesome, thank you.
Is there more than in past years though? We usually only have 3,
Yes.
isn't it?
So there's usually 4, which would include the 3 competitions starting at districts on the Cape every year, moving on students who qualify for states in Boston, then students who go to internationals, which is European Anaheim, California. We've added one additional one, which is the Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference in Orlando, Florida. That is an optional opportunity that DECA has provided for many years. We've never sent a team from Norton there, and we are currently kind of testing the waters to see how many students might be interested in that, students specifically looking at careers in those areas. The DECA Power Trip is a leadership conference that we go to every now and then. We went last year, it was in DC. I brought 4 students. It's just a weekend in November. This year's in Austin, Texas. Years past have been in like Charlotte, North Carolina, and different places. The 3 competitions are the yearly ones that we always do.
Now, do all 100 students go to like how does that work? So everybody goes to the first one,
So
and then they have to work their way
there's a
up?
bunch of nuances to it in terms of like what your specific category and thing you're competing in. But traditionally, it's the majority of students are going to go to districts. The top 4 or 5 from each category out of all the schools in the district will qualify for states. So we usually bring about 30 to 40 students to states. And then nationals will range anywhere between like 5 to 10 students.
How many members, I know it has expected student membership here, but how many members do we have right now?
We are at around 55, but we have an open registration through, I believe, November.
Okay.
So we had our informational meetings. We're currently finding that a lot of freshmen have not decided to join, and we're trying to figure out some plans. We actually had a meeting today. Our officers are going to go around all the freshmen LLBs and kind of tell them a little bit about their experience and try and get that membership up.
So how do you do that? Do you have like a meeting with freshmen, or how do you get information to the freshmen?
Yeah, a lot of different ways, but this way that we're going to do is our senior officers, our officer team, there's more than seniors, but there's like 6 or so of you. They're going to go around to the different freshman LBs, so there's probably like between 6 and 8 of them, and just talk for a couple minutes, just introduce themselves, share a little bit about DECA and how to join. They're going to give them all the flyers and like the registration materials, and hope that we get some of them back. The extended LLB time has been really useful in terms of kind of doing things like that as well.
Right.
I know Helen and a few other student leaders have like come to my LLB, have come to some of my classes to talk to our freshmen and underclassmen about just getting involved in general. So this time we're doing DECA.
Okay. Have you already started to do it?
Yes, we have, but we're doing the biggest push with our freshmen in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's just so much, I feel like you're better in person, you know?
Right.
So it's so much easier to convey like the club and what it really means, because it is a tough thing to explain, because you're like, what is DECA? And you look at the paper and it's so intimidating, and when you can really just give your own personal experience, I feel like we have so much more success with people joining.
Yeah, I'm sure it's more helpful.
And DECA is so complex because it's not just marketing or finance. Like we had a team last year of seniors who put together an incredible project that was based on medical research. And so it's hard to explain DECA a lot of times to new students because it's so vast and there's so many different kind of opportunities to engage with it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
How is everything funded? From a trip, from hotels to buses to that whole aspect of it?
Yeah,
Flights?
so students, it's a quite expensive club to be a part of. Our district's competition usually is around 160 to 180 for students to have a one-night stay at the Cape. So conference, meals, bus transportation to and from. And then states is a little bit more because it's 3 days, 2 nights. And then nationals is kind of the most expensive. Like last year was in Disney, so there is all the extra fees. But students pay entirely for their own costs. I believe that the advisor reimbursement comes from the district.
So from a student standpoint, it's 100% on the students, nothing on the district.
Right. Yep.
Just want to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Yep.
Well, you guys do fundraising to try and offset, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
we actually just ended our first fundraiser on Wednesday. selling caramels, and we've made 2,000 something from it.
Yes.
We also have our Spirit Box vending machine that is very popular. My students will ask me at the most inconvenient times if they can go get a snack, but it supports DECA, so it's a win-win. Yeah, we do a lot of fundraising, and we also have opportunities for students to do individual fundraising a little bit later in the year, so the money that they earn goes right back to them in their hands.
I think it's also important to know that, if there's an issue with a student being able to fund their experience due to extenuating circumstances, the district will work with that family and find ways that we can support them, because we want to make sure that it is equitable and every student can access this awesome program.
Last year, DECA also provides scholarships and whatnot, so last year we put together 2 letters of recommendation for students to get fully funded trips from Massachusetts DECA, the organization.
There's also outside organizations that help fund too, so, Jen certainly knows who to get in touch with to help students who might need some help. Because you hate to see a student not go because they can't afford it, so this is important for our students. All right, anybody have any other questions? All right, so do we have to make a motion for the ones that are just out of state, or?
So anything that's out of state or overnight, so really
Okay.
it's all of them.
Okay, and can we do all of them at once?
You can do all of them at once, yes.
Okay, if you guys are fine with that. So is there a motion to approve the DECA trips for the 2023-2024 school year?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming tonight. I'll tell you, we have some great students who present well.
We really do.
It really is impressive. All right. You guys have, bye. Thanks for coming, good to see you guys. Presentation and vote on global education trip to Greece.
Okay, so keeping in the theme of travel, I am presenting to you our next opportunity for students at Norton High School to really have a global experience. This tour will take place during April vacation of 2025 and is focused in Greece. It is a 7-day tour, and the cost per student is $3,689. We have run many successful trips. Our first one was in 2017 when Mr. Porry was a student. We went to Spain and Portugal for that very first trip. And over the years, we've been very fortunate to take some great groups of students to all different places around the world. Most recently, last April, we went to London, Paris, and Rome, which was a wonderful trip. We do have a group of students that are going to Thailand this upcoming April break. And so we're asking for your consideration tonight to approve the Norton High School Global Ed trip to Athens and Argolida.
Are you going?
I would really like to.
Is the Thailand
For sure you would.
The Thailand trip is still on. We have about 25 students that are going to Thailand.
Wow.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, anybody have any questions?
I think we'll just do that one more time. How's the cost broken down?
So the costs are, again,
Dad's wallet.
you can ask Dan, as a parent who has sent a child on a trip. The students do pay for themselves. There are, we try to get it out as early as possible because we work with EF, and so they create payment plans for families. We've had kids finance them in all different ways. I've traveled with a few students that have literally worked their way, whether at Honeydew or babysitting, and they've paid for the entire trip themselves. Birthday money, those types of things. So it is paid. In the past, the district has been able to support transportation to and from the airport. We used our tuition funds from our exchange programs. Unfortunately, that money is basically gone at this point. So we're no longer able to fund that. But it's a great opportunity for kids. I've been very fortunate to go 3 times and travel with students, and it's a really great opportunity for them. So, and I think the other component too is we always work with EF. They are wonderful when it comes to 24/7 safety, being able to contact families if there is ever a problem when we are not able to continue our trip due to global unrest or something that's going on. They will get us out of there immediately and get us to a safer location. So it's a peace of mind piece for us as a district, as well as having a consistent tour group.
That happened to a tour right before ours this past
Yes.
year. They had to move out of London for.
Well, it was the Paris riots, and so there were some challenging issues, and not all schools were comfortable going. We found that when we were in Paris, the touristy areas were extremely safe, and it did not impact our trip at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big point to bring up what's happening in the world, obviously. If it was something that we couldn't go, is it 100% refunded?
So that's something that is, no. Ultimately, what will happen is they will try to change our trip for us.
Okay.
So if for some reason we were not able to go to Greece, they would give us options and say, okay, we could go here instead, or we could go here. And you can do that almost up until, probably 4 or 5 weeks ahead of time.
Okay.
If there's something that's really all of a sudden comes up, they will work with us to make those changes as well. If a student backs out on their own, they do not get a refund.
Okay.
They are able to take that money and put it towards a trip in the future or gift it to someone. We've had deals that have happened within our community a few times where, especially during COVID, we had a big trip planned. We were supposed to go to Barcelona and Paris, and then we also had a trip to Peru that had to be canceled. And we had a lot of kids that either, right?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, so we had kids that were able to push their trips forward or gift to a sibling, and then we also had people that, their child took a neighbor's spot and they paid the family directly.
I mean, the good thing is if they have to like relocate, they're not directly in the city, so it's not like you're staying, like if you're staying in Boston, like the equivalent to like staying in like Framingham, they're not directly in the city, so it makes it sometimes a little
Yeah,
easier. to move
it's
around.
much more cost effective that way too, when you're staying outside of city centers in places like Paris and Rome and everything else.
How many staff members go, and does the district?
Yep, so the ratio is for every 6 students, it's 1 chaperone. And the chaperone is free, and EF pays that cost. So in the past, we have paid a portion of a staff member to go, because I always would prefer a lower student to teacher ratio than a higher one. So for example, if we had, 12 students, if we had 14 students, and we would try to figure out a way to fund the other portion of that 3rd chaperone. Again, in the past, we've used that fund from our exchange students, and that money has a little bit dried up. So that would be something we would have to think about. But for the most part, working with EF has been really beneficial. Mrs. Winsper has traveled with students in the past, and they have it down to a science. So it takes a lot of that burden off of the chaperones and the teachers. We always send an administrator with every trip as well, just because I think it takes a little bit of that burden off of teachers. Teachers lead the tours, but someone's there with a credit card and can make the call, stay behind with the student if it has to happen. And that's, I think, been a nice peace of mind for families as well.
Any other questions? All right, so is there a motion to approve the global education trip to Greece in April of 2025?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, enrollment update.
Okay, so this evening I have,
Again, I read it. Back to work.
I
gotta be excused, I gotta go back to work.
I would really like to go on this Greece trip, and I know somebody else in my house that would really like to go on this Greece trip, and she's a freshman in high school.
School choice?
Yes, right, so.
Let's go to school choice for a week.
Yeah, so I haven't mentioned it at home yet. So tonight I have our official October 1st enrollment data for you. As we discussed at the Finance Committee, our joint meeting a few weeks ago, this October 1st enrollment data is really important for us because this is the data that is sent to the state, and these are the numbers that all of our funding for the upcoming school year will come down to. As you can see, our total district enrollment is 2,166 students. Those are students, Norton residents that are attending here in town. That is a decrease of 14 students from last year. However, we have 252 school choice students. That is over an additional 44 students from last year. Overall, total number 2,483 students, which is an increase of 18 students from the October 1st, 2022 numbers. which obviously will impact our funding when we're talking about this in the spring, but 18 students is not a huge number, so it won't impact it quite that much. In your packet, you have the comparison for last year's data as well as our special education enrollment. As you can see, our total number of students on IEPs is 568 students. That number has been consistent since the beginning of the year.
Sorry, can you point out where that was again?
Sure, it should be on the third page
Sorry.
next.
Yeah, got
Yes,
it.
yep. So you can see the total number down the bottom, and then on the right of that document, this spreadsheet is updated every single month. So you'll see that that's a good way to track the numbers as students come in and out.
So do we track where the 14 go?
So ultimately, so it's really just numbers, class sizes. So last year, our seniors, we had 152 seniors. This year we have 148. So it's little ebbs and flows in numbers there. Our grade 8 students, we had 170 grade 8 students. We have 144 grade 9 students. So that's fairly typical. When we see students, they have different opportunities when they're coming from 8th grade to the high school, whether it's Southeastern or Bristol Aggie, or going to a private school like Xaverian or Fian.
As far as the state funding goes, that's only for students who are in our district?
Yeah, so the 2,166, but we'll also see an increase in our school choice funding because that number went up by 44 students.
Okay. And the READS data, those are just numbers for us, that we don't get any funding or?
Correct. So
Okay.
the way that READS works is that they pay us a facilities charge in order to use our space. So the students that are enrolled in the READS program, their districts are paying for them to be out of district at a collaborative placement,
Yep.
and we're just getting the rental.
And then for the pre-K
Mhm.
special ed, so it says 49,
Yes.
okay, and then what is the DS and AB?
So we have 2 team chairs that actually share
Oh, that makes
the
sense.
numbers of
Okay.
students. So some of them are
Yep.
handled by our GCS team chair,
Yep.
and some are handled by our LDN team chair.
Okay, and then for the pre-K, so there's like the 3 and 4-year-olds, and then there's the 4 to 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Is that one lump number
That
of
is
49?
inclusive of all of our little answers.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
You done?
I think I'm done right now.
So READS,
Yes,
we basically rent out our school space for it.
yes.
What, have we, I don't know, a historical question, have we moved up on that fee?
Yes.
Okay.
So I believe that information was discussed when we met for the joint committee. I'm not going to get these numbers exactly right. So I believe last year was roughly an income of about 74 to 77,000,
Okay.
and this year it's about 90. So there is an increased rate. One of the things that we are having a conversation about in terms of READS is just the space that we are needing for our own programs here, specifically at JCS and at Norton High School. We're really starting to run out of room. So while we love having the income and we love having the program here, we're kind of getting to that point where we need to start having conversations about how much longer can we sustain having the READS program here in Norton. Dr. Bayetta, before he left last year, signed us to a 1-year contract to get us through the current school year. So we have to let them know what our plans are by January.
Gotcha.
So that's something that we'll continue to talk about internally. I'm actually meeting with the READS executive director tomorrow morning, and we're just going to try to be as creative as we can with space.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, do we, like that rental fee, if you will, does that increase every year? Does it kind of go like every 2 years, every 3 years? It doesn't really matter?
It depends on the contract.
Contract, okay.
So typically what would happen is they would sit down, they would settle a 3-year contract.
Gotcha.
Just like we would do with any one of us sitting here and say, okay, in year 1, this is the cost, in year 2, this is the cost. And then from time to time, they would come to us in the middle of a contract and say, hey, we really need more space,
Mhm.
you know, and it's done based on the number of classrooms that they use, that sometimes they have offices, so those all have a rate. So if they say, okay, we have 4, now we need 8, that doubles your income.
Correct.
So I think it's important to note that we really love having the READS program here. And they have their own staff, their own, teachers, their own paraprofessionals. But when it comes to the day-to-day, they, in most cases, they see our school nurse. And
Exactly.
so they're integrated into our classrooms with our students whenever possible, which is a great experience for kids on both sides.
Absolutely.
We just have to be creative about that space, I think.
So are they renting space because they don't have enough space in their facilities?
So,
Because I thought they had just built a brand new facility.
so READS offers many different programs. So this is specifically for their students that are deaf and hard of hearing. They use Norton, and then they also use Bristol Plymouth as their regional agricultural school, vocational, excuse me. So they have other programs in some of those other spaces. So if we say to them in January, we're really sorry, but we can only accommodate grades 4 to 8, then they're going to have to go out and look for a new space. And we lose that income.
Which would be unfortunate too,
Slippery
because the
slope.
kids
Yes.
all know each other and then they have to move on
And
to
it's
something new.
their home. And we
Right,
have
yeah.
students that are Norton residents that are part of the READS program as
Right.
well. And it's really nice for
Right.
them because they're able to stay in their home community with their
Yeah.
peers.
It's too bad we can't figure out something,
Yeah,
some way.
I'm just talking about the space in general, and I know obviously high school JCS packed to the max, that it's like, I think those conversations are gonna have to probably start being heard, in
Yes.
terms of
Mm.
what can we do, I mean, because obviously having them here is huge.
Yeah.
Helps out our budget, one, obviously the integration of the students is massive, but, if we're bursting at the seams with our own space, we gotta
Yeah.
make sure,
Yes.
if it's one of those give and take, if you will, if it's gonna lower our class size from 24 to 19 or whatever it may be, I would rather take the classroom, and use it for what we need to, so.
So we're having those conversations and looking at it and just trying to be as creative as possible.
Did their numbers go up and down too?
Oh,
Is it
absolutely.
Pretty much.
Absolutely, depending on the needs of the students, what they're able to offer and if the students' needs are being met within that program.
So the DHH program fluctuates? as well?
Yes, it does. Yep, and because when you think about it, all of those students are coming from sending districts where they might say, okay, we're no longer going to go to READS, we're going to put this child in a collaborative that's closer to home, or something along those lines. It depends.
And then for the 2166, those are Norton residents,
Yes,
and that's where we get our $66 from the state?
60,
60, oh, good.
yeah.
Awesome. And then from school choice, we're up 44 from last year.
Yeah, so 44
So
times
we're-
5,000.
Correct, so we'll, on average,
Ish.
if you will, correct, okay. And then just, I'm doing this math correctly, last year we had 44 in READS, this year we're at 39,
Mhm.
so we're down 5.
Yep.
And then out of district,
We
we
had
actually dropped
33.
to 7.
Yes, we dropped 7.
Perfect. I think that's it
And
for
again,
me.
as you know, that number is always fluctuating,
For
day
sure.
day to day.
Can we, obviously, this is the numbers we send to the state.
Yes.
If all of a sudden we get an influx of kids,
Mhm.
3 families moving to town, they have 4 kids apiece, and we add, does the state look at that in November?
They
Not
do
you
not.
say you're.
No,
Okay,
October
next
1st is the
October.
hard deadline. But I will share this
Very
with you in my weekly updates every month. I send you the September one, I'll send you the November one as they come in. So at least you have an idea of how our numbers are changing from month to month.
Mhm.
So at least we
So-
can have those conversations.
So,
Go ahead, Dan, no, sorry. go.
so essentially, every child that moves into district now, we don't get theoretically any money till the following October?
Correct.
So, and then if they move out, we would.
There and gone, never happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's quite a racket.
yeah, because I'm assuming, obviously depending on the year, you could have an influx of students, especially nowadays where people are moving left and right everywhere, to district to district. Now what happens if a school choice kid wants to come in January? We generally don't do it.
We do not allow it. So
Okay.
school choice, the enrollment period used to end, I think it used to end almost October 1st or like September 20th, and then we moved it back to September 1st.
Mhm.
And then this year was August 15th.
Got it.
So, extenuating circumstances between August 15th and October 1st, we will have a conversation. I'll reach out to Sherry as the chair, and we'll,
Yep.
see if there's something that we can do. But after that, we do not accept students. The only time that would change is if we had a Norton family that was moving during the year and wanted to stay.
Perfect.
Then we would obviously work with that family to keep them here in their school.
Anything else? The school choice number where, like, so it went up 44, those students stay, like, going forward, right?
Yes,
Like,
they do not need to
so-
reapply every year. Once they are here, they are considered a Norton student. And if for some reason we decided we were not going to expand on our school choice numbers for the following year, those students would still be allowed to stay. Those 252 are our students.
Okay.
And on school choice, looking at this from a college standpoint, I guess, but like, we're kind of acting as an admissions department in a way, where, I'm
Yes.
assuming we don't accept everybody, but, kind of generally,
So ultimately, when you think about school choice, there is only really 2 reasons that you can not accept a student. Number one is if they have a significant discipline record, which includes perhaps a felony, we can say no. The other time is that if they have a significant IEP that we're not able to accommodate here in district. And that happened this summer where we had to say, I'm really sorry, we don't have a program for this. And so those are really the only 2 reasons that we can say no. So
okay, so what?
you get to be much more selective in the college application process.
So what if, so JCS,
Mhm.
we'll call it bursting at the seams, maybe we have another year or 2, whatever. If we went, can we just say we're not accepting any kids in our elementary schools?
Yes.
Can we say we're only accepting 4?
Yes.
Okay.
So the school committee can be extremely prescriptive, and we have been in years past, where we would say, okay, we are going to vote to approve school choice, but only for this many students at these grade levels, this many students at these grade levels. And so, for example, we do not accept any juniors or seniors. It is only kindergarten
Yeah.
through grade 10. So you as the committee have the oversight, and that's something that we'll talk about as we get closer to the spring. We can look at our numbers and say, our recommendation as an administrative team is to say, maybe we say no to, K to 3 at this time, but we can say 5 students per grade level and 4 and 5, and maybe the middle school can take a few more. And so we'll have
Now-
all those conversations.
Back to my admissions part, if we
Mhm.
say we only have 5 spots in grade 1, and we get 15 applications, what happens?
It typically goes by whoever gets their application
First.
in first. First
Okay.
come, first served.
Okay.
And so when we, for kindergarten, for a few years, we had people like knocking on the door at,
First day.
7:30 in the morning on April 1st to get their application in. So it, especially for kindergarteners, it's a very popular option for families.
I'll save that one for another,
Okay.
I'll ask you in the prior.
So in the past, Nick, what we used to do is almost approve these by grade. So grade 6 would be 10 spots.
Yeah.
So we did that in the past. We got away from that because it just was incongruent of it, so. But yeah, I don't think we've never said no for other than those 2 reasons.
Right. Legally, you can't.
Usually everybody that asks it, but do we know, I don't know the number offhand of what we approved. How does this match up to what we approved? Like, are all of our spots filled that we approved, or are we?
I have to go back and look and see what we actually approved last spring. I don't know that we had any hard numbers
Yeah,
on
I don't
any
think
of
we
them.
did.
I think it was just
Yeah,
open.
yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore,
I think we haven't had our numbers for a while. I think we've just had it open.
So in the past, when we did have hard numbers, what, Terry would do is she would say, okay, I have this many spots for first grade, and once they came in,
Yeah.
it was closed. So, something to think about.
I'm gonna ask this question because
Go for it.
on social media. Do we give preferential treatment to our staff?
We do not.
Okay.
That's something that you can talk about. We do not. We have a lot of staff that bring their children here,
Yep.
which is wonderful because
Absolutely.
the biggest compliment I can think to give a teacher is that I want my child in your classroom. So they're saying that about their colleagues, which I think is really great. And it also is super convenient for families to be together.
Of course.
For someone who doesn't have their family all together, and I'm driving around all the time, definitely convenient to have everybody in one place. But they do not get preferential treatment. Siblings
Do.
do. So if, you know, you have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader, and now your kindergartner is coming in, we do not like to split families.
Fair enough.
But those are fairly rare exceptions, so that's not the norm. Like
The siblings?
Yeah, like younger siblings, like, not, that doesn't happen often, I would say, right?
Well, I mean, if you have your first and you put them in kindergarten,
Yeah.
you know, you're kind of guaranteeing that, you know, numbers 2 through 5 can come too.
Right.
I think before you were on the committee, we actually had a school choice valedictorian. a couple
We
years
did.
ago.
Oh,
And his mom is
yeah.
also a
Yeah.
His
teacher.
mom is also a
His mom
wonderful
is
teacher.
one of our teachers at the high school as well.
Good kid.
Yeah.
Great kid.
Mother is a wonderful teacher.
She's got a lot of energy.
I think I can take a guess of who this is.
They're
I
awesome.
think I had her as a teacher.
Oh, that's funny. All right, any other questions on enrollment?
Nope.
All right, move on to transportation update. That's you.
So transportation this year has been off to a very good start. We definitely got more registrations in earlier than we have in years past. We have about almost 1,500 students that are registered this year for the bus. Obviously, that doesn't mean all of them ride it. We have about 1,322 that continuously ride every week, which is up actually 50 students from this time last year. We have brought in about $136,000 so far, and only $27,000 has come in after July 1st. We have, since we implemented the new fee this year, we've brought in about $1,500 in the fee, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's about 30 families, because we did it per family. And that was about 97, we had about 97 students that registered after 7-1, but that wasn't just fee-based. Those could have been people that registered later to Norton, or if they were on free reduced lunch or something else. Other than that, everything looks great. We have a couple buses on the Hay Middle run that are a little bit higher capacity than we prefer, but those numbers are coming down because a lot of the kiddos are involved in sports or different things. And we put a seat for every single student that registers, whether or not they actually ride. So we have been shifting those seats on the bus to the capacity, and also if a student gets off immediately, then if it's tight, we relocate the other students. That's about it so far.
What else are we still waiting to collect, or have we collected everything?
We have a few families that are on payment plans.
Okay,
Yeah.
but everyone's accounted for?
Yes.
Oh, that's great, okay.
So our total bus income is 136,720.
Yes.
$720.
Yep.
That's for the year.
Yes. Well, the beginning balance that you see, that was what came in June. But it
So
was
some
for
people pay.
FY '24, that's correct, yep.
Okay. Then you got some people figuring out payment.
Which
plans.
doesn't even put a dent in the total bus.
So I was just gonna
No.
say, just as a reminder, what is our bus bill?
It's almost $1 million this year.
Right. So people think when they pay the bus fee, that
Yeah.
they're covering our cost for the
Correct.
buses. It's not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
And having gone through a fall sport, there is a major shortage of bus drivers. Like, 6 of our TVL opponents can't get here before 4:30. So like every game has been a late evening. So thankfully we have good fields with lights. So,
Yeah. Yep.
So it's,
But for $136,000, if we made it free to ride, that's what we would lose out of our budget.
Correct.
Got it. Because I think that's a conversation that we should really be pushing with the finance committee in terms of, because we hear the blowback all the time. My kid can't get, and everyone whines about the traffic on the road, which it is crazy, especially where our schools are located in the main road and everything else. LG gets crazy down there. Neighbors complaining and everything else, but it's one of those things from a $136,000 standpoint. Hey, if you want to take away the fees and throw it in our budget, maybe that is something we could look at. Kids will ride for free, but we need the money on the other side.
I think the other thing that we would need to potentially look at is just, do we have sufficient enough buses in place
yeah,
Correct.
it's gonna
in
cost a
order
bus
to,
contract
in order
well.
to accommodate
Mhm.
everyone being able to ride?
Correct.
Because if you open it up free.
And that
you're
that number's
get a
going
lot
to go
more.
up.
So that, I think $136,000 is definitely on the low end.
I was going to say probably
Yeah.
double it, if not more.
Yeah.
Legally, what do we have to offer transportation?
Legally, we have to offer transportation for students up through grade 6
7 or 6?
that are 2 miles, more than 2 miles from school.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep. K-6.
K6.
Because I know we had a big bus conversation probably, was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yes.
And that's when we did this, we took away a tier and added
Mhm.
the Yale and the middle school
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Link was here, so it was probably more
I was gonna say, that was a
than
while
3 years
ago.
ago. And I think this brings us to the bigger conversation about school start times, which is something that we really do need to have a conversation about. LGN and JCS have been on these completely opposite schedules for 19 years. It's really a challenge for families, it's a challenge for programming, it's a challenge for professional development. And, you know, I was speaking with Mr. Hayward yesterday when I was at the middle school for the day, and he was saying, like, even the middle school getting out as late as it does makes it really hard. They have kids missing, you know, an hour of class for athletics, which is
Yeah.
not what we want to be doing.
No.
We are primarily teaching and learning,
Mhm.
and so I think it's probably looking at both of those things kind of together would be
Well,
beneficial.
So I think that's something that we've talked about for a long time, the start time,
Mhm.
so.
We were
I
very
think-
much engaged in the school start time committee when we closed in 2020.
Right,
And we just haven't
exactly,
brought it back.
right.
Yeah,
I think
I'd
we
love to.
really need
Yes.
to,
Yes,
like, put that at the top of the list to.
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even the middle
Look
school,
into.
or, I mean, even Yale School to a certain degree, you know, with multiple parents generally working now, having that 6th grader or 7th grader be able to come home and have the LG and JCS or whatever, not that the kids would be at different schools, but hey, you can watch the kid for a half hour or 45 minutes is huge,
Yeah.
you know? So I think we need to kind of go back and
Yeah.
revisit that for
Yeah.
sure,
Uh-huh.
you know? LG, and I think, what does LG start, 7:40?
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
And JCS is 9:05, and it's
Yes.
like, these kids are in the same soccer field.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy, it's crazy.
And we've been doing it, it was supposed to be a 1-year trial, and that was 19 years ago. So it has
So,
been a really long time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I only know that because I was teaching at JCS.
Yeah.
And I taught, the first year I taught, we started at 8:35, and they're like, okay, we're gonna just try this for a year, we're gonna see how it goes. And then, here we are.
Huh,
19 years later.
yeah, okay.
It's good to have that historical perspective every once in a while.
so, kind of backtracking slightly, but it's in the conversation. We had talked last meeting about the new developments going in within the town,
Yes.
which would obviously have some effect on schools and where those
Mhm.
kiddos go. In an ideal world, if both of our elementary schools started roughly the same time, we could then kind of
We can move
redistrict,
the
so to
lines a
speak.
little bit more if we needed to.
Mm.
And I think, you know, we had talked, when we were doing the school start time, we had talked about looking at the configuration of our schools in general. So right now, we have 2 K-3 buildings and the 4-5, and then the middle school. Like, does it make sense to do an early childhood center with like preschool and kindergarten, and then 2 1-5s? I don't know, but I think that it's something that we probably, instead of having these conversations piecemeal, put it all together into a working group, get some people in from the community, have, you know, a school committee member, maybe a select board member, and really do a deep dive on what this could potentially look like. And I don't know that you could do that for next fall, because people need to have a little bit of time in order to consider how their day-to-day would change. So, but I think perhaps if we were to get the ball rolling maybe in January or February, at least start the conversations, bring the committee together, and start that work.
So do you think for our next meeting then, we could have kind of like a timeline, that you
Sure.
can come up with a timeline of when we can start, how does this look?
Mhm.
You know, kind of like what we did all those years ago. I think that would be helpful
Yeah.
Yeah.
to put it, you know, pen to paper and really, let's get going with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, we have to identify, it's not just the school start times. There, I mean, you have Champions program, you have, I mean, obviously staff, different time, you have busing. Could we stick within the 3-tier model that we have? My guess is we can't. We'd have to adjust something
Right.
would have to
Or
change.
would your model just look different? Like the 4 to 8 busing, maybe it's a 6 to 12 busing.
Yeah.
And because we know, once
Well, I
our
mean,
once our
technically
juniors
it's
get
4
their
to 8
cars,
now,
they're
right?
out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the you know, middle school and high school athletics is a huge is a huge wild card there too.
Yeah, and we also, I mean, I think from 19 years ago, I mean, I remember when we started school at 7:05, we were out by 1:35, I think it was,
Yeah.
which was very early, but now like you do have the Lancer Learning Block in there. That like, again, I know we shifted back to, third period, but that is another way that you could be like, hey, we could, maybe if we start high school a little earlier, that could trickle in,
Well, and
I think the
there's a lot-
bigger conversation is definitely something we could
Yeah.
have.
You know,
Yeah.
most of the high schools out there's a lot of research around how teenagers need their sleep and they're starting later, right? So more along the lines of like what our middle school start time is. My daughter's a freshman in high school. She's literally home sitting on my couch at 2 p.m. because they get out at 1:49. So she gets on the bus, rides the bus home, and she's home by 2. It's very early. So I think maybe seeing if we could find some sort of happy medium
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
would be really beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I think the first thing is getting some sort of clarity on the elementary school start times, like, you know, those, I mean, historically, the literature says elementary, it's almost a flip-flop model. Like, they should be starting earlier
Yes.
versus the high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but we also we indirectly have 3 elementary schools.
Yes.
in
And when you
theory.
talk to the staff at LGN versus JCS, and because I did this for a long time, the kids are exhausted
Yeah.
by the end of the day. It's 2 o'clock, they're tired.
mean, especially,
It's
like-
difficult to keep them on task. It's dark when they get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, back to the years when my kids were in JCS, you know, you get into the fall where the last bus stop, it's 4:25.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't,
it's getting dark.
Yeah.
picking them up at the end of the road with my lights on. Like,
Right.
it's
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
so.
Yep. So I will bring a proposed timeline for the work
Okay.
for the meeting on the 26th.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
Just, sorry, one more quick question. If a family can't afford a bus, do we let them ride for free, basically for whatever
So if a family qualifies for free and reduced lunch, then yes.
bus is free? Got it, okay.
And the sports fees are reduced as well, as long as they have that stipulation, all their fees are.
And is that something from the state?
Yes,
Sure.
and Christine and her department get to handle all of that.
Got it.
All right, continue on, budget update?
So in front of you, you have the year-to-date financials, the revolving grant funds, and the budget, which is very similar to the report that you just got a couple weeks ago at the FinCom meeting. Nothing, honestly, much has changed, other than we had one additional payroll since then. And a couple more receipts came in with the revolving grants. Our current balance now is, on our budget, is $364,974. The only lines at this time we're keeping a close eye on that have the larger deficits are the substitute lines, which is fairly typical. We're looking at both the daily subs and the long-term subs. Those will be eventually transferred out into school choice later in the year once our revenue stream, we receive a bit more each month. And when that happens, obviously, we'll let you know and provide you the proper documentation. Yeah.
So with the school choice, when do we get that money from? Does it come from the state or the other districts?
The state, and we get it once a month, at the end of the month.
So we don't get 5,000 out of whack, we get it 5,000 over September to June?
Yeah, so we get the total amount, so say the 1.4 million, they divide it over 12 months.
Got it.
Except in the spring, once we do the school choice increment data report, then we get that particular, a couple months later, that particular month, we get another lump sum. So this last spring, we got another almost 100 grand that 1 month only.
Just imagine like waiting with the checkbook to know the check's
I know,
coming.
right?
Exactly.
Sewage is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Any other questions?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you, Christine.
All right, so discussion and vote school attendance on March 5th, 2024, state primary election day.
Okay, so I recently met with Mr. Lazat and our town clerk, and Lucia is wondering about the March 5th state primary date. She does anticipate we're going to get a lot of people to come out. It's a presidential primary. And what she is asking is if she could use Norton Middle School, both the gym and our cafeteria.
What is that day?
It is, I believe it's Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
And so, in the past, we have not closed on a presidential primary. We've kind of said, it is what it is. It does only impact the one school, but in order to, you really can't close the middle school and have them come one day later in June than everybody else. So the question I have for the committee is, do we have a preference on what we would like to do that day? We will be closed for the presidential primary in November of '24. That's something we've done the last few presidential election cycles. And it will either be a professional development day or it will just be a day that we're closed. Because that we know is always a huge turnout. But I'm happy to have this discussion with you, and really I told her that I would let her know what the committee decided.
Her recommendation is for the kids to have the day off.
So her recommendation is that she thinks that it'll be a large turnout, and she would like to use both the gym and the cafeteria spaces for voting.
So,
Which if we do that, we can't.
You
we
cannot have the middle
cannot.
school be open and have both of those spaces be taken up. So we can say we want to stay open, and you can use
The gym.
just the gym, and we have to figure out, they would have to figure out another spot,
So-
or,
I guess my problem with this is we moved it here to alleviate all these problems they said they had with the election at the high school and some reservations we had.
yeah.
And it seems like every time there's been an election since then, it's either not good enough or something else, or this, or this. So my first inclination is to say, too bad. However, I know one of the elections, I think it was last year, it was on like the first day of school, we had construction, things like that. But I guess my problem is, at what point do we say enough is enough with them? Being that, you asked us for this move, we agreed to it because we have the side entrance, because we can block it off, and now we've set our calendar. So my question is, when did you know about this, and why didn't you come in the summer? And, can we even do this? Or is it basically, would we treat it like a snow day almost?
Right. And so I met with Lucia probably at the beginning of, end of August, beginning of September about this, and we just had other things that we need to discuss. And to me, it's not tomorrow, so we'll get there, and it's, I think the challenge for me is all of our local elections are on Saturdays, which is great, right? We don't have to worry about it, we don't have to think about it. But these state and, national elections, we're going to always have this problem. So what do we close for and what do we stay open for? We can't always close school on an election day. It's just not worth it. A, to our consistency of teaching and learning, and B, we all know that there are times when we have a state election and we've got 18% of your voter population coming out.
I feel like too, I just in their defense a little bit, Dan, I feel like it's really only the major elections that they get nervous about, right? And I think that when we first voted this change, however many years ago that
Yes.
was, I think the political climate has changed drastically since then. People's behaviors have changed drastically since then. So, I think that most elections, it's not an issue, and they're not saying that we need to close for every.
Well,
I
they're
think
on
it's-
Saturdays as well.
Yeah, but I think some of the even, like, when it's not a state primary, I think some of the other ones, they know the turnout's not gonna be huge, so it's not an issue. I just feel like it's the major ones that, there's a little bit more concern, and to be honest, I would just rather play it safer than not. If there's, if there's a lot of people coming through our building, and, I'd rather keep our kids safe and.
I think ultimately, it's one of those things, you're going to parade in, whether it be 1,000 people or 10,000 people, that'll
Right.
never happen in Norton, but 10,000 people through a gym, through a cafeteria, even through the gym. All it takes is one lunatic.
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
Right.
And again, I wish as a town we could find somewhere else to go. I don't know where. Whether it be, across the street at the church, where they have an empty gym in there that they're doing nothing pretty much most of the time, if there's somewhere else we could do this so we don't have to involve a school.
Well, quite honestly, going forward, I mean, why can't we look at the new town hall or the
Yeah.
community
Senior
center?
Correct.
Or even if you have to do it by precinct and you have half the town in each place.
Yeah.
Correct. And I get that also gets confusing.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
yeah. And I
So
understand
there
from a
might
town
be more
standpoint.
options now that we have bigger, buildings coming into play here. This might be another conversation.
Senior Center expect, or community center, I don't know what we're calling it.
This,
When is it gonna be done?
2024, it was
Oh.
2024.
I believe it's the spring.
Yeah.
You're driving by it,
Yeah.
it is
It's
amazing
moving,
how
Yeah.
quickly it went
They're
up.
really
Yeah.
moving fast,
Yeah.
it looks nice.
Yeah, so
But I think that that's a conversation that we should have
Yeah.
about
Correct,
looking at
and
these
like-
other spaces.
And as annoying as it is to shut schools, it's just like, I always err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
That
Agreed.
like, I would rather shut the school, look at it when we redo these calendars every single year, we
Right.
approve the calendar, look at it, say, hey, we know we have a national election on the 4th, we know we're gonna be out that day, we key that in for PD day right away, boom. Kids aren't here, staff is,
Right.
you know? And then come, if we have a primary, obviously, it's typically going to be in a different calendar year, if you will,
Yes.
for academic year. So like, it's not going to affect the same kids anyway, and then, again, that March one, make it a PD day, you know? And then maybe that also helps us on the other side of the parent issue of how many half-day Fridays we have, you know? So I think there's some ability to, might be able to kind of, move around the schedule a little bit and do it in a way that, one, and first and foremost, gonna keep our kids safe. Two, if we can work it into the teacher's contract, and I know that's gonna be a whole nother issue too, but like, we can look at it from a standpoint of, hey, here's additional PD days, and our parents are happy because we don't have 900 half-day Fridays.
Yeah.
So a couple different things. It is definitely, the elections are so much better now that we're here at the middle school. The Norton Police Department does an incredible job making sure that there is a lot of coverage. There are 2 access points from the gym into the Norton Middle School. There's always a police officer that is stationed by the gym doors that lead right into the cafeteria, and there's always a police officer that is in the gym, in the back hallway near the locker room. So kudos to them, they do an incredible job. Wade and his custodial team do a really great job making sure everything is set and ready to go. But I certainly understand your point. It's a different situation when you are looking at a larger number of people. If we were to make a election day a professional development day, we would need to do one of 2 things. We would either need to take our day that we currently have in August and move that within the year, and we can absolutely do that. Or you would have to go back and negotiate a day 183 with staff. And I can't imagine that we have the funds to do that at this time. Maybe someday, you never know. But we would have to look at that. And I think, we've front-loaded the PD day for, I'm gonna say probably about 8 or 9 years. So,
Since I've been here.
yeah, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Mhm.
Well, I think we need the information when we talk about our calendar, because we do set it so families know these are your days,
Right.
and all of a sudden now we're telling our families, you know what, we didn't have all of our information, and now we're putting our families potentially,
Right.
hopefully we make the decision, we get it up to them early enough, but, and hopefully we don't have to continuously have this conversation, because that's how it was sold to us, is we can keep the school open because there's an access point, so on and so forth.
So I think maybe having a discussion with Lucia too earlier, right? Like, let's forecast, what are we looking at next school year?
Yes.
You know,
So
if
when
we
we
don't
sat
move the
down-
location, what are we looking at? So like Dan said, because a lot of people do get those calendars and they
Yes.
live by
Plan
them,
their lives,
right?
yes.
Yeah, especially when people are working, and then if they have a day off, it causes for
Absolutely.
some issues when you've got both parents working and then somebody's gonna take a day off to watch the kids.
That's the thing, is it's not like, working parents aren't getting that day off.
Right,
So I
right.
mean, it's.
Right, it's definitely an
inconvenience.
inconvenience to be late in the game with it, I agree.
Do we know
But-
what, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do other districts have this problem, and what are they doing? Or
I
are we
mean,
one of the
voting
few that
is-
say, here, come to our high school?
It really does depend on where they're voting
Yeah.
is. So, I'm trying to think, I know Joe would always talk about Stoughton, how they had different precincts in every different school. It was one area, it wasn't
That's it.
thousands and thousands of people. In my community in Mansfield, we vote at the high school. You go in the side door where the gym is, you go into the gym, you go in one door, you go out the other. And other than a presidential election, the kids are in school,
Yeah.
so. It's really up to you, and if you guys decide that we want to close on this day, I have my superintendent newsletter going out to families this weekend, so they will be included there with the updated calendar, and they will have plenty of notice.
So I guess our two options theoretically are close or half-day. Because we could drop to a half-day with no,
We could.
But then you would still have cafeteria and,
but you wouldn't need it because they're not serving lunch on a half-day.
don't we serve lunch on half days?
You do.
Yeah.
You're required to.
Yeah. So I don't think a half day makes sense. I think it's either school or no school.
Honestly, half day is almost like worse for families.
Yeah,
Like, get them up.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a tough winter too, so we'll see.
yeah. This brings me back to Carolyn though. When Carolyn,
Right?
like, every meeting she would say, March is such a long month.
It is.
We should really give the kids a break in March. And here we are, March 5th.
But it's only a couple weeks.
It's
after
only the,
February
I
vacation.
know. Too bad it wasn't a little bit
And they
later.
get a half day now too, so.
See, that's good. This is for Carolyn. Okay, I mean, I guess,
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I'm like, this is also not a good school to have an election at. The parking's horrible. It is nice from a standpoint of like the side entrance,
yeah,
but you could
that's
almost
why
do
we moved
that.
it
Right.
here.
You could almost do that at,
Yeah, we
do
had
it
the
at
monitors
the
going around
Yale
high
school.
school.
At the where?
You could do it at Yale.
Yeah, that parking's hard.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the high school for parking is great. The problem is the gym is in the
Right.
middle of the building,
Yeah.
and so therefore, you have people
Yeah.
wandering,
Yeah.
and
Which
it's
makes why we
expenses to
moved it.
cover.
Yeah.
Right.
That made me nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a kid, if it was election day, you got your lunch and you walked down to the gym to eat it because they closed the caf for voting. So, I mean, that's going back years, but I remember you walked down, you walked with your tray and,
Did you have to sit on the floor?
yep.
Was it East Bridgewater or something?
Times were way different then, way different.
Paper ballots,
Yeah.
no voting
All right, so what do we
machines.
do here? Do we take a vote to have no school on March 5th and then see how that goes?
So or someone can make a motion to either keep the calendar as or to change.
I think it's important that we take a vote on this sooner than later.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
Should we invite Lucia to our next meeting? Talk to her, get her opinions on some of this stuff, and then take a vote then?
I think perhaps if we want to talk to her about moving forward with
Forward,
elections, we
right.
certainly could. I think unfortunately, between now and March, we're
Nothing's
not
gonna
going to move
change.
anywhere else,
Right.
Yeah.
is my guess.
I think we
There's
need to
no
have
other-
that conversation with the community center or even the town hall.
Are those even big enough though?
It could
I
be
mean,
something,
the great room at the community center, they'll have to just work it into their programming.
Well, but like parking and all that though, like, is the parking any better or worse than?
I mean,
it could be something that we could bring to our joint meeting as well and say, you know,
Yeah.
we're having conversations about this. I think we're
I think
meeting
that's
on
a good-
November
I
13th.
think
We
that's
can
good.
add it as
that's a
one of
good
our
agenda
agenda
item.
items.
Right, that's a good agenda item for that.
Because I remember going through this a few years back, and the biggest problem with the Saturday elections at the church were breaking down after bingo. And so,
So keep the kids out
Yeah,
of school, but don't worry about bingo.
But I think the bigger issue were the floors. I think they had refinished those wood floors and they didn't want people going. I think that was the bigger issue.
I mean, and those are the only two options, is either come here or St. Mary's, or St. Mary's Bachtown.
Dan and I are going back and forth and you two are like, what?
If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I mean, really.
Well, and
That's our motto.
these
And
are
it's
the
serious.
very
We're
silly
be at the
things,
vision.
like, these are all things that affect our student body.
Yes.
So,
And
so technically, that was all,
understand.
I get, and again, this is probably going off topic a little bit, but the church across the street, so we could do voting there.
Well,
I think it was requested in
Yeah.
the past.
It-
it was
was
asked for
denied.
and
Yes.
they balked.
right.
And there was no other, I remember this, like.
We had no other space, and then we
Yeah, no-
also
no
talked about like,
place in town.
well, if we had a big town hall,
Right.
if we had a community center, like, I remember those
Right.
conversations.
Not that many
The
years ago,
church
they
is
split
a
it between the Yale and the high
perfect
school.
place though, like
Perfect parking.
safety
The
of
Catholics
their
could get some more people coming
students.
through the doors.
Here,
They
we'll
can hand out flyers,
splash some holy water on them as they come in.
like the decorative.
All right, getting off track here.
Seriously.
It's huge.
Let's have the conversation with the joint meeting.
I
think
will,
it's a bigger.
Yes.
when we put together our
The
agenda for
agenda.
that night, I have
Yeah.
it, we'll add
Okay.
that.
Okay, so now we need to decide if somebody wants to make a motion to have no school on March 5th.
Can we
the state
technically
primary.
vote on this, because it's not actually an item that we
It is.
discussion?
It is.
It's on there as a vote.
Discussion, okay.
Yep.
Discussion and.
I'm just trying to get out of it. All the frustrations.
Do you have to use the bathroom or anything, Tim?
No.
Is this
Take a
going
walk?
to impact their contract though, like you
It will
just
not,
said, like?
no. So what we'll do is, if you guys
Saturday.
vote to close on the 5th, we will close on the 5th, it'll be a no school day, and we will just push it, we'll push the, I think right now we're supposed to get on the 12th, we'll get on the 13th.
Is that not, it's not gonna push us into a different week,
I was
right?
gonna say.
Oh, I don't even know. We don't-
Yeah.
No,
But
'cause
I also guarantee
We're gonna have a snow
we're
day.
gonna have a snow day, so,
Maybe a few.
Yes.
a farmer's almanac
The 12th
is.
is a Wednesday, so it'd be a
Okay, so right now it'd
Thursday.
be a Thursday.
So then it still gives us one snow day.
Yeah.
Plus, we would have that following Monday off if we go into that second.
For the Juneteenth.
No, Juneteenth is a Wednesday this year.
Oh, 'cause it's on the 19th. Yeah.
So hopefully we get the 2
That
days
gives,
before
that gives us
Juneteenth.
4 days.
So it gives us,
Yeah.
yeah,
4 days.
well, 3 technically. If you
3.
move it to the 13th, we have Friday, Monday, Tuesday.
Correct.
This is one of those things you can't win.
No, you really
Some are
can't.
gonna be angry that we do this, some are gonna be happy that we do it. I think we just have to keep in mind the student safety. That's our,
Yeah.
first and foremost, that should be our thought process in doing these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, our staff, you know.
Just
Right.
for primary, this is my final thing here, I just don't see that many people coming out.
No.
So
I think
why
they're
are we doing it? I
over-exaggerating.
think, you know, and again, I get it from town clerk's standpoint and the town in general thinking, this might be the year, we're gonna get 7,000 people here. I don't see that happening, that I think if we said, hey, you're staying in the gym, we need a cafeteria, I think we can make this work.
I would rather say you get the gym and we can do a half day to accommodate the flow of traffic, but that's just me. I don't think we need to close, but I think they're.
Do we know what the,
I think they're over
numbers were
exaggerating.
the last state primary?
Oh, yeah.
I don't. I don't know, I'm sorry.
Because I can't remember how far, I can't remember that,
What?
the last state primary, what it looked like.
I mean, we weren't off school,
No.
they didn't take our cafeteria.
No, we were not off school.
We were
here.
I mean, I know it's a hot political climate now, but it was hot then too.
Well,
Right, I was gonna say, it's.
I mean, I guess my biggest thing is, so if people have to wait to vote, like, that's their right to vote, but it shouldn't have to impact our schools for them, so they have to wait.
Do they have to close at a certain time? Like,
They have to
can
close
they-
by 8
By
o'clock.
8, I believe.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of people come in that 7 to 8 in the morning on their way to work.
Yeah.
But
So-
I really think they're over
And
exaggerating how many.
with
do a
mail-in
late
ballots
start.
and absentee ballots and everything else, you have
Yeah.
less and less people coming out to vote the day of.
Yeah.
So I think we're
Like-
overthinking this a little bit from a primary.
Well, I think they might also be thinking about the traffic and the congestion with buses and
Oh, for sure.
coming in and out of the
For sure.
school. I think that's
I think we
probably
do
a
what we
thought
did last-
process.
Yeah.
Because Lucia knows better than most what this process looks like from start to finish. So
For sure.
not only the amount of people coming in, but just the traffic it'll cause on, 123, that,
Mhm.
so I think she's looking at
Yeah, I mean,
overall
but we've
picture.
had those issues ever since we've had voting at any school.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's, frankly, that's up to NPD to be controlling that, and they never have an officer out on the roadway. They're always inside the building.
Usually the busy times they do.
Yeah.
There's one out there, but
And I
not,
think, if I
not all
remember
the
correctly,
time.
last time when we had voting here, we all got Norton EMS alert updates saying, hey, if you could avoid the 8 to 10, because our kids are coming into school, if you can vote at another time, please do so. This is
Yeah.
our school day.
Yeah.
This is where it's going to be the busiest, and hopefully people are either coming out a little earlier or a little later to incorporate that.
The other thing you could do is, taking Dan's idea and kind of swapping it, like flipping it over, is you could do a late start, where just Norton Middle School students come in at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And it's like the
Problem, yeah,
reverse,
it's the
it's a
bus.
reverse early, would just have to, would have to create another run for that morning.
Does that affect parents, though? Is that worse for parents?
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter which way you go, someone's going to
No.
be, great, we can sleep in a little bit. It's,
Regardless,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you guys
Correct,
decide.
correct.
It make some people happy and some people.
All right, I'm going to make a motion.
Okay,
Go
good.
for
I'm
it.
going to make a motion we are leaving school open on March 5th, and we will allow voting in the gym only.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
I was gonna say, can I second?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor of leaving school open on March 5th? Now I don't know what to do.
We'll just vote 2-2, and then we can figure out something later.
No, we gotta
No,
vote.
the 2-2 wouldn't pass.
All right,
So you
so
need the fifth member.
leave school open, just the gym.
Just the gym.
Okay. Let's do it again. All those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay.
So, Pat,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
what did you vote?
For it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh, I can see.
3-1.
Sorry.
3-0-1.
3-0.
Yeah.
Interrupt the chair.
This is your show.
I just got so excited.
I know, I can tell. Go ahead.
All right, so tonight I have my goals for the upcoming year. And these look a little bit different than maybe goals you've seen in the past from Joe. As a new superintendent, I wanted to be really strategic about what I was looking at this year. So the first one is around effective entry and direction setting. So this is all around the superintendent's entry process that I presented to you earlier this year, looking at my entry plan, looking at the type of evidence to be analyzed, interviewing stakeholders, et cetera. By March, I will complete and present to you a report of my entry findings. And then by May, we will have our process of what are we moving forward and how does this look as a community. Goal 2 is really maintaining momentum during our transition. We have so many different projects in play. At the end of the last school year, I've had a little bit of a hard time giving up control over some of them to my colleague, Dr. Ackerman. So that's
so
not
weird.
him problem, it's me problem. So making sure that we're really continuing to move student learning forward, to move teaching and learning forward through the evaluation process of our principals and our central office administrators, making sure that I am present in visiting classrooms, really overseeing a lot of the work that goes along with professional practice and our student learning goals. And then finally, completing the new superintendent induction program for year 1. As you know, and as you learned from Dr. Wong a few meetings ago, it's a big commitment in terms of monthly meetings and time with my mentor and doing all the assignments that go along with that. So with your vote tonight, these will be my goals for the year. And then it's also important for the committee to know that it is a 1-year evaluation process. So at the midpoint of the year, you'll give me some feedback on how I'm doing so far. And then at the end of the year, we'll do a formal evaluation in public.
That's where you give us all the things we have to rate.
Yes.
All that, yeah. Okay.
Fun and exciting for everyone involved.
Super
Can
fun and
we-
exciting.
Can we try and get that a little earlier? Because I know
Yes.
we're always up against
Yeah.
like a new member or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
if we can maybe do that, say March-ish.
Sure, so
Any
what,
new members, I mean.
what I'll do is I'll send you guys some
conferences.
dates, because we will need to do some sort of mid-year
Yeah.
reflection, so I think that might be helpful, and maybe that will be like, we could do late December, early January,
Like
and,
I'd say like the first January.
yeah, so we'll do January, we'll do the formative, and then,
'Cause it
and
seems
then
like
from there,
if-
you guys can decide when you would want to do the summative piece as well.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I know the elections are in April, we have 2 members up, so I mean.
So maybe we can have it done by April 1st?
Yeah, I mean, definitely before,
Yeah,
because
because,
if you have 2 members, you
Yeah.
can't ask them to evaluate somebody else.
Right.
You haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
That's always hard.
yeah, especially with 2, too. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
Right.
Potentially.
Okay. All right, any other comments, questions about that?
Nope.
Alright.
Just a comment, I guess, not a question. This is awesome.
Thank
Just
you.
laying this out from an action standpoint, benchmarks, giving us an idea of what we're actually evaluating on. It's laid out, it's, I don't know, idiot's guide to school goals, which is perfect.
Thank you.
And for the record, Dinesh couldn't be here, so he was happy with this as well because, it was like measurable.
Achievable.
Yes.
Yeah, measurable.
It's his
goals.
favorite word
Yes,
besides
yes.
feasible.
So I just wanted to make sure I said
Second
that
to
he was
fungible.
happy too.
Yes.
Okay.
It gives us an idea of exactly what we're looking at.
Exactly.
So, you know,
So
Thank
is
you
there a
very much.
motion to approve the superintendent's goals for 2023-2024 school year?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, discussion and vote on school committee delegate for November MASC annual business meeting.
So in the past, the Norton School Committee has sent a representative to the joint conference, which includes the MASC annual business meeting. And for many years, that was Mrs. Stern.
Yeah.
You do not need to have a delegate there at the business meeting, but if we are going to send someone, we need to make sure that we get this into them by the 20th. So it's really up to you if you would like to have a member present.
Is there anybody that could go?
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
What, this is like an invite?
Yes.
kinda?
Yeah.
We've never gotten invited before.
Well, we get
Or
it
have
every year.
Kathleen's,
do.
I
yeah,
just didn't
Kathleen's
send
gone.
anybody since Kathleen left.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
So I had sent you guys a link probably 6 weeks ago, just saying
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yes.
does anyone want to go? Unless,
I think she went every year.
right, unless
year
someone
she
wants to
went.
go, then I wasn't planning on going.
Yeah.
Nope.
I personally can't take a day up to go.
What happens if I say I'll go and then something comes up and I can't? Doesn't matter, I just,
Get fired.
no, I'm not gonna get stuck.
You get fired from your volunteer position on school committee.
You get shunned.
That's all I gotta do?
MASC puts you on a
We'll put
list.
something on Facebook.
I mean,
It's not as glorious as you
I was
think.
gonna say, I feel like this is one of those double-edged sword things, because I'm a very staunch critic sometimes of this whole crap in general.
Then you lose your mind at that.
And then two, it's like, but you can't be a critic and then not get involved. And that's more of a personal thing, if you will. I do think if we're gonna belong to something like this, and we're gonna continue to pay $6,000 a year to do it, someone should suck it up and have to go. That's my personal thing. If we don't think it's, as a committee, if we don't think this is something, it's worth it to us, they don't hear us, they don't listen, it's an invite, and then the words go in one and see you later, we should pull ourselves out of it too. That's my start. Second piece is I will go to report back and say, hey, this is what's good, this is what's bad, this is what's ugly, whatever, and probably most of it's gonna be ugly from my standpoint. But I will do it if we think it's important and we're funding that $6,000 a year to do something like this. I will go and be the rep if that's what we want to do.
It's your fault.
I think, Kathleen's perspective was it was always a good conference to go to. I mean, she came back and reported on
Yeah.
things that she went to, and there was some good, some,
I think the biggest issue that I remember we all had is they all come up with these resolutions.
Yeah.
And there's no action on them.
Right.
We're gonna support this, and then we never hear about it again. And some of it was good stuff, because we would get, Kathleen would get I call it the itinerary, that's not the right word. She would get the,
Agenda.
oh, what do we think on this?
Yeah.
Do we wanna support it, do we not wanna support it
Right.
as a committee? And we
Right.
have that
And we
discussion.
would- right.
And some years we're like, absolutely, and then they vote yes on a resolution and nothing ever comes with it.
Right.
I don't think they're powerful enough to have a resolution passed at the level above them. So it's just and that's my opinion, so I think, so we finally got frustrated supporting these resolutions that went nowhere. And we found a lot of the resolutions were geared towards other districts that were seeing more of the pie
yeah,
than Norton
different than
was.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what the committee could do tonight, if you so choose, is you could appoint Nick to be your official delegate. And then I could share information with Nick about what the entire process is, and if he can go to this, business meeting, and if he wants to go to the whole thing, the whole conference, we can, have that conversation, and at least we'll have met the deadline. And if he doesn't go, then you guys can vote him off the end.
Lucky you.
It's up to you, Nick.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'll do it.
All right, then let's vote.
Make a motion to appoint Nick Schleicher, MASC representative for the Norton School Committee.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain, I guess.
Congratulations. Have fun.
Sounds pretty glad.
Okay, discussion and vote on nurse substitute rate.
So our coordinator of health services, Dorian Brown, has requested that we have a nurse sub rate increase. Right now, it is at $125 a day. She's requesting it to go up to $210 a day. The increase will not be absorbed by the operating budget. It's going to be covered by a grant that she has been receiving, the district has been receiving since 2019. It's the Comprehensive School Health Services Grant. You'll see it on The financials I gave you is anticipated to get $50,000 this year. Last year, we got $40,000. It has gone up each year that we have received it. So we are expected to get it for at least another 5 years after 2024. I've also included what she provided to me, the nurse sub-rate comparables for around the state and other districts. So if you want to take a peek at those as well.
Overall, are we having trouble trying to find substitutes? Because
Yes, I think that's the intent.
It's extremely difficult to find a substitute nurse. We have one amazing mom that is also a nurse, does a lot of subbing for us. But if you have anyone that has a long-term health issue or more than one person out in a day, the biggest problem that we have is when it gets to the springtime and we have field trips. And we have students that have medical needs and need to have a nurse with them. We either need to send the school nurse and then you have to backfill that person, or you need to send a substitute nurse on the field trip. Or if you cannot find someone, you have to contract out with a private nursing company, which is much more than this rate that she's suggesting. Christine and I both met with Doreen and we talked about this, and what we had said was the only way that we can use this increase would be if it's to come from the grant. And if at any time the grant is no longer around, then we go back to the original rate that was agreed.
I had another question, but I lost it. This was important.
I mean, Dover Sherborne is, a very affluent
Yes.
community, if you will, and they're paying $200 a day. So.
Where did that number come from?
I'm just wondering, like.
I mean, and here, from the grant standpoint, if we increase this, we're probably not looking at a whole ton of money.
Right. So
From a
the
substitute
grant would
nurse.
cover the difference between the 125 and the 210.
Correct.
So
So, and again, I don't even know what that figure would look like from a substitute nurse standpoint. Is that 8 grand, 7, 10 grand, 15 grand? Do we have any inkling on how many times we've used a substitute nurse over the years?
I don't know over the years, she
Yeah.
put into this grant around 19,000, I think. That's probably obviously high for the
That would be
$85.
really high.
So she'll probably have to amend it, I'd assume, but the $85, that would just be a day difference. So I don't know. Right now, they only have one that, as Dr. No said, that covers around the district, but if someone goes on a field trip, that's another reason someone's down a nurse as well.
So, but from a historical data standpoint,
Yeah.
we don't know how much
How many subs we
Right.
we've
And-
typically used.
And look, I mean, if you use 100 nurse subs between now and the end of the year, that's $8,500.
That's okay.
Right, so I think that 19,000 is a way overshot.
Yes.
But we really are not able to find anyone.
And then, I guess my follow-up question to that is, okay, let's just call it 10.
Yeah.
So everyone's on the same page here. If we're looking at $10,000, what does that do to our grant? What is that grant for? Are we taking away something else from a health and wellness standpoint?
So in the past, during COVID, we actually used some of that grant to stipend the nurses for the extra work that went into all of the COVID testing and
Yeah, yeah.
communication and all of those things. So really, we're just reallocating those stipends to this nurse substitute line instead. Other things that we do with that grant money, we buy materials for screenings, for our nursing offices, health materials that they need. They do hygiene lessons, we buy them materials for hygiene lessons. And last year we also were able to use some of that grant funding for some trauma and mental health training for our staff. So we are definitely able to use that for other things. Mr. Searcy and I met with Doreen a few weeks ago, and we're going to be putting some of that money towards some of our mental health screener costs that we have. So it is nice that we're able to use it for some other things that we need here as
Yeah,
well.
that's my, honestly, my bigger concern, is if we're getting $50,000, use a substitute nurse, which obviously was going to be needed, but now we're taking away $10,000. If we had $10,000 that we could put towards mental health, and instead of I just feel like we're like moving around money. Is it the best way to move around money from a grant?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the bus discussion earlier. If you do it, you know, you have the money or you don't have the money, but if we can't get the people,
Yeah.
then we're running into whole new issues of trouble with keeping the kids safe on field trips and having coverage in the nurse's
Yeah.
office and so forth, so.
If we cannot provide nurse coverage for a student that needs it, the field trip needs to be canceled.
Yeah.
Because we cannot tell that child they cannot attend.
Which
I'm
could be
just
a
looking
whole,
at like some of these like.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Foxborough's 140, like just some of the towns that are around us.
I did that out already.
You know,
210 from
but
Easton.
Lincoln is at 190. That's a very different town than ours. Mansfield is 175.
Yeah.
I mean,
Varies.
Foxborough
It's-
140, Taunton 150. I don't know.
Hugely varies, and I think a
I
lot
just
of
feel like
these rates.
125 to 210 is a huge
Yeah.
jump, and like Sharon's at $100 a day.
Yeah.
But what I'm
Like
assuming from
Sharon,
a substitute nurse standpoint, if we're up at the 210 level, and anyone who's in
we're getting.
in this area, they're gonna be like, I'm going to Norton before I go to Mansfield, because I'm gonna get $210 rather than getting $175.
And
That's
I
why,
think
can't we just jump
Right.
maybe
can we do
some,
like-
but not go to 210, like from
Right.
125 to 210?
Oh, yeah, we can do whatever we want, technically.
Yeah, I mean, it just,
You set the rate.
listen, I think nurses are well worth it, don't get me wrong.
I'm honestly
It's just
thinking, I know a lot of these have day, but some are hourly. From these field trip standpoints, generally speaking, we're not going 7 hours a day or 6 hours a day on a field trip.
Some of
So,
them.
so
Some
the
do.
one, the big one,
Works 12 hours.
the big one that is a problem is the 8th grade New York City trip. And when I say it's a problem, just from the nursing standpoint, it's a great trip.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we have a child with a medical issue, we're going to be hiring a private nurse. And it's probably going to be somewhere in the $1,000 range
Yeah.
for that
A
day.
lot more expensive, yeah.
Plus, it opens us up for liability if they're on an IEP and it's a medical concern, because we're not fully funding their IEP need, which is a federal contract.
But if we do hourly, we can just add it up to 210 too, right?
Hourly could cost you more for those long field trips.
No, it's good by a day, they're gonna do what, 6 hours a day?
So typically, a staff workday is 7 hours. So,
Okay.
I mean, like right here, East Long Meadow's 35 hours a day times 7 hours, that's roughly, what,
Right.
210-ish?
Yeah, math is hard.
I know math is hard too, I taught second grade, it's like,
I mean, Easton is at 210.
and again, I don't know how recent
I
this
mean-
data is.
If you look at it just from this standpoint
I
alone,
think it was 22.
Okay, so this is FY '22.
okay.
Okay.
But if you look at it from this standpoint alone, $210 a day divided by 7 for a staff nurse is $30 an hour.
Mhm.
That is cheap money
It
for a
is.
nurse,
It is.
from that, if you're looking at it from
Yes.
that standpoint.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be a huge, massive jump, because $125 a day to 210 is a lot, you know?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely one of the things that, like we did with our sub rate a few years back, we
Mhm.
have to go up to
Yeah.
get people in,
Yeah.
but I mean.
What's our sub rate right now?
$100 a day.
Which is fine.
Unless you're a
fine
Norton
with help.
retiree, we pay $175. I always like to plug that one, just in case any of our retirees would like to come back.
And are listening.
And are watching school committee.
Oh, no, you want to come back.
Yeah, I mean,
Or reading them in his app.
Yeah.
Right.
I think 210's a big jump. I would rather go in like a 175, 180 range, just so we're not taking essentially half of that, you know,
Mhm.
funds, but, I'm indifferent to it either way. I mean, we need to raise it, but how much we raise it.
Yeah.
I just hate raising things without historical data, to be completely honest, because like, how much is it really affecting us, and and again, what's it taking away from our grant money? How much money are we actually talking about, because we're really just making up numbers right now at this point.
So,
Is this something that we have to do tonight, or can we get some
so
more
if the
information?
committee would like, we can, number one, bring you some of that historical data, and present that to you when we come back on the 26th.
I think we need to be careful at what year we're looking at as well.
Right,
the
'cause
last
COVID
3 years are
Right.
not historical
Right.
in a sense.
But
Yeah.
I also think
They're
it's
historically.
It's important
Yeah.
for us to know that prior to this year, you know, the last few years, we had 7 nurses.
Yeah.
So they were able to fill in for each other
Right, yeah.
when someone may have been out.
Good point.
Because we
Yeah,
have that
yeah.
floating nurse, and then we have Doreen as the coordinator of health services, who's also a nurse. So we were, I don't think that data is really relevant.
Yeah.
We could look back a few years prior to that, to see what else is, you know, just to maybe give us an average.
I mean, I think at a minimum, we need to go up on the rate. And I hate to say this, but the substitute teacher and a substitute nurse, it's two vastly different, departments. So, I mean, I hope that's not an issue with our subs, but it's a specialized sub, if you will, so.
You need to be a certified nurse
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
order to be
right.
a substitute nurse,
Yeah.
so.
So, I mean, I have no problem with it going up, I just think jumping to 210, a certified nurse is a certified nurse if you want the 210 or the 125, your skills are roughly the same because you're a certified nurse.
Are these for RNs, speaking of, for a registered nurse? Or could there be a,
Not a CNA or?
no, it wouldn't be a CNA.
I'm assuming
But it
it's
would be-
It's an RN.
Because they'll have to administer
Yeah.
Medications,
and
Yeah.
potentially other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because-
I just wanna make sure
Because
it's,
your LPNs and
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
EMTs, they're only licensed for certain medications.
Right.
And we do have some students that have significant medical needs, they may have feeding tubes,
Yeah.
you know.
Right, yeah.
So it's probably an RN.
So I would say yes.
I agree, I think the rate needs to go up for sure.
Agree.
Yes.
I mean, I'd be comfortable going like 175.
I think I just wanna have some more information before I even think of a number, right?
And like I said,
I don't wanna be offensive, like if 210 is what's gonna get us what we need,
Correct.
then I 100% wanna support that.
Yeah.
I think we just need some more information to be able to make that jump.
Right.
It's a big jump and we just need more information,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and like honestly, I think another thing would be nice too is like, from that, we've had that grant since 2019. What have we spent on the $40,000 or the $50,000? And then what are we going to be losing by dipping into that to pay off
Right.
sub nurses?
Yeah, and we
Right.
could definitely break down what the grant allocations were. So during COVID, there was definitely, I would say probably, 10, 15, 20, and we would have to go back and double check to see what we paid for stipends
Mhm.
Yeah.
for our nurses for that. I know last year, I can tell you specifically, we bought some curriculum materials
Mhm.
for our high school health class. We bought, we did the trauma training, those are things that I am aware of
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct.
in my role.
Yeah.
Yeah, other
As Jordan
equipment.
explained it to me as well, it's equipment, like not just Band-Aids or anything like that. It has to be approved first and that sort of thing. And I believe she said this year, Leslie University, the PD, other professional development, scales, and that they need. And they're trying to also put on some health and fitness clubs as well.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just
one of
good.
them- that's correct,
Right.
correct.
Yeah, I think if we just have more information.
Sure.
Yeah,
We can do
I
that.
think that would be helpful. And that, I certainly don't want her to think that, because we're asking for this, we don't believe this is necessary, because I don't think that's where we're coming from at
No.
all. So I just want
Yeah.
to make that very clear.
And I believe the 210 was coming from
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's comparable to local.
Exactly.
Okay, so why don't we
Yeah.
move this, we can table this till the 26th as well?
Yeah. All right, and then is there any other business that you have? You have nothing?
Nope.
I just want to mention the CPAC is doing the Halloween parade and they're looking for candy donations, so.
So is
anybody-
JCS too, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's JCS.
And where do people bring the donations if they?
For the CPAC, they can bring it to Blush Vanity.
Oh, yeah.
And you get entered into a raffle for some service there. I can't remember exactly what it is. And then you can also bring it to Epione Wellness. And you can get entered into a raffle for one of their services as well.
Okay,
So,
great, thank you.
I think, I'm not sure of the date, I probably should have brought it, but I know the annual Peterson Food Pantry donation day is coming up. I want to say it was October 20th. But
Yeah.
don't hold me, but I know it's their annual fundraiser, annual food pantry day as well.
I thought I had that flyer. 21st, 10 to 1. Yep. All right, anything else? All right,
Good.
is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.